Good, happy Sunday morning, everyone. December 8th, 2019. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Sunday morning in this Sunday edition of Politics with Riley King. Let's begin. First up, let's take a look at your 2020 New Hampshire candidate tracker for today, for December 8th, 2019. We have one candidate today in New Hampshire, and that one candidate is Joe Biden. He has two events today in New Hampshire. His first event at Nashua Community College in Nashua, New Hampshire at 11:15 a.m. And his second event at the Sports Barn in Hampton, New Hampshire at 4:30 p.m. And those are the two events that Joe Biden has today in New Hampshire. Buttigieg education plan would triple Title I funding, spend $700 billion on child care and pre-K. South Bend mayor would also raise teachers' pay, expand mental health services in schools. Warren tries new strategy on trail. Shorter speeches, more questions. Strategy could lead to emotional connections and more confrontations. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Adam Sexton.
Strict attention to detail. That's what sets Kubota construction equipment apart. It's how we maximize performance.
So what do I say to my Native American relatives regarding the confusion around the Native American ancestry issue?
I shouldn't have done it. I am not a person of color. I am not a citizen of a tribe. And I have apologized.
This could be a sign of things to come on the First in the Nation campaign trail for Elizabeth Warren. The senator is paring down her stump speech and adding time for more voter questions at some events. Do you think that's a benefit to your campaign?
So I'm delighted to take as many questions as we have time for.
Since January, the norm for Warren in New Hampshire has been about 3 to 6 voter questions following her stump speech. Adding more will give her a chance to show off her command of policy or connect emotionally. But it also opens the door to more adversarial questions, and it's been rare here for Warren to face direct challenges from voters. The disagreements can be gentle, like they were with a man who asked about monetary policy at a town hall in Exeter back in March.
So I gotta say, I'm not sure we're in the same boat on this one.
Or, in rare cases, the disagreements can be sharp. In April, Warren stared down a questioner in Concord who tried to argue the Roe v. Wade Supreme Court case was wrongly decided. She dismissed the premise and moved on to big cheers. But those moments are not always guaranteed to work out.
Over the last 3 primary cycles, it seems like the trend has been toward more homogenous crowds, more in agreement with the candidate at these kinds of events. But New Hampshire's notorious contrarian streak still tends to show up right in time for the First in the Nation homestretch.
Get them nervous. You know, if they get fewer votes, hopefully they work harder and are more committed to their issues.
In Peterborough, Adam Sexton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Bennett plans to hold 50 town hall events before New Hampshire primary. Democratic presidential candidate says he can beat President Trump. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Adam Sexton.
Landowners, it's
Time for special year-end savings from Mahindra, the world's number.
New Hampshire voters will get every chance to see Michael Bennett in the weeks ahead as the centrist Colorado senator doubles down on the first-in-the-nation primary.
We're going to have 50 town halls in New Hampshire between now and the primary. I'm going to answer every single question. I'm going to tell the truth, which I always do, meet people in their living rooms and in their businesses, and I believe build momentum coming out of New Hampshire.
Bennett, who stopped by News 9 for an interview that will air in full Sunday on Close Up, hasn't been able to break from the back of the pack yet, but he has made an impact. His pointed criticism of Elizabeth Warren's Medicare for All plan appears to have hit home, as her standing in some national polls is going down.
We see her momentum is kind of stalled right now. Do you think your arguments have made a difference in sort of changing the outcome of the race right now?
I do. You know, I'm the only person in this race that's fought for a public option for the last 10 years since we passed the Affordable Care Act. Nobody else can say that. And I'm the only person who wrote the bill. And it was very clear to me that the politics of Medicare for All were going to be toxic for the Democratic Party.
If Granite State Democrats really want to limit President Trump to a single term, Bennett says he's their best bet.
I really believe I'm where New Hampshire voters are. You know, if I look at the politics of Jeanne Shaheen and Maggie Hassan, I recognize myself in those politics. And I believe that those are the politics that will ultimately beat Donald Trump.
But in this crowded primary, he faces an uphill battle to get around several other centrist candidates.
Will he end up being sort of that alternative, that moderate alternative to some of the more progressive candidates? That remains to be seen, but he's certainly all in here.
Adam Sexton, WMUR, News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Michael Bloomberg facing new accusations of being racially out of touch. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Race for 2020, Democrats are increasingly taking aim at each other, trying to draw distinct differences in a still crowded field. But the newest candidate is already under fire, forced to explain some of his comments less than 2 weeks after he launched his campaign.
This morning, Michael Bloomberg facing new accusations of being racially out of touch.
Cory Booker endorsed me a number of times, and I endorsed Cory Booker a number of times. He's very well spoken. He's got some good ideas.
The former New York City mayor with that controversial remark in his first major interview since joining the presidential race. Senator Cory Booker saying he was taken aback, but telling our Rachel Scott that Bloomberg has since reached out.
Whoever is our nominee should not have to be explained to about why comments like that can be found to be so offensive to a very important part of our constituency.
Bloomberg now on defense.
I probably shouldn't have used the word, but I can just tell you he is a friend of mine and he is a Rhodes Scholar.
The campaign heating up with the Iowa caucuses less than 2 months away. Senator Elizabeth Warren and Mayor Pete Buttigieg locked in an escalating war of words.
So you wouldn't call it a feud, a beef, a rivalry?
I call it a competition. Look, everybody running for president needs to be able to explain why each of us is better than the others.
Warren taking shots at Mayor Pete for his closed-door fundraisers.
Senator Warren, you said that you wouldn't bash your fellow Democrats in the race, and yet you have called out Mayor Pete Buttigieg by name on a variety of issues. Are the gloves off now?
No, I just see this as from the very beginning when I got in this race. What was important to me is the issue of corruption. And the way we build a grassroots movement is not by going behind closed doors, selling access to time, giving special titles and special access to bundlers.
Buttigieg arguing Warren had attended similar events in the past.
She was for it before she was against it.
In Iowa, Joe Biden barnstorming the state on his No Malarkey bus, still answering questions over this fiery exchange.
You're selling access to the president just like he was. So
You're a damn liar, man. That's not true.
That voter attacking Biden about his age and his son Hunter. The former vice president now expressing just one regret.
I probably shouldn't have challenged her to push-ups.
And back to Mayor Pete Buttigieg. He's addressing a growing chorus of questions about his work overseas with the prestigious consulting firm called McKinsey & Company. We know very little about his time there, but Buttigieg says he's now urging McKinsey to release him from a non-disclosure agreement, along with a full list of his clients.
Great reporting there, and I've seen some reporting indicating that progressives are about to launch a pretty big attack on Buttigieg because they are worried about him from the left flank of the party.
There is a big divide within the party right now.
Yep.
Hi.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that is it for this Sunday edition of Politics with Riley King. I hope you all have a great rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you back here next Sunday for another edition of Politics with Riley King. Have a great week as well, everyone. Goodbye.